Welcome, everyone, to the Wake Up Call channel, and welcome to the propaganda machine churning out climate change propaganda over and over and over and over and over again because, of course, it's hot out. You know, when it's hot out naturally in the summer, it's abnormal, just like when it's cold in the winter. That's insane, too. But, of course, we know how mind control works. The more they tell you it's abnormal every single day, the more they tell you that they're record-breaking numbers, there's going to be no research ever done. There's going to be no common sense ever used because repetition is the key to mind control. So if they tell you every single day that it's the hottest summer on record, they know you're not going to go into a farmer's almanac and research if it's the hottest summer on record because you're too busy doing things on your cell phone like playing games or texting people to actually research for yourself. And of course, remember, doing research on your own is a very dangerous thing. That's what the mainstream media has told us. So when it's very cold out, they tell us it's global cooling. When it's very hot, they tell us it's global warming. Of course, when there's tornadoes and there's hurricanes at a record pace, they don't tell us anything other than the fact that it's climate change. What they don't tell you, of course, is that they have the ability to weaponize weather, and they use it on civilians so they can get away with literal murder. So naturally, since it's hot, they're telling us all over the mainstream media, you have to see some of this propaganda, it's incredible, that it's extremely dangerous. They're warning people it's real dangerous. You could die from the heat, just letting you know you could die. Other summers, 20 years ago when it was 90 degrees, you just thought it was hot and you decided to lay out and go to the beach. Now, well, you can die if you go outside. The heat wave expands into new areas and intensifies in others. Of course, PBS saying millions face record-breaking temperatures amid dangerous heat wave. But they don't back up any of the propaganda they give you. They don't tell you what the real temperatures are. And of course, if you try to research anything that's online, they've altered a lot of that. But if you actually own Farmer's Almanacs, you'll see that this is just another normal summer. And of course, last year they tried to pump this propaganda on us so they can convince people that climate change is real. Of course, they need to do this so that these weather abnormalities like tornadoes and hurricanes popping up every single day in the same areas, people think it's just climate change. And of course, they need to do this so they could start telling us what could be done to help reduce this type of climate catastrophe that's occurring. And that is the carbon footprint, which will enslave you, which will monitor and track your every single move. Now, last year, NASA, of all people, because of course, we all know NASA as monitoring the temperatures of the Earth, apparently. NASA announced that summer 2023 was the hottest on record. So we can almost guarantee that they'll tell us 2024 was even hotter, and 2025 is even hotter, and 2026 is smoldering and deadly. And this all ties in with Agenda 2030 to have the carbon footprint in place. So one of the things I got to show you is the propaganda of 100 million Americans face dangerous heat threat. This is from CBS News, okay? They show you, and on CNN as well, they show you the map showing that it's 90 degrees in most of the country. Now, when it comes to being 90 degrees in most of the country, this is normal in the summer. In fact, it's a luxury to some people. Most people go to this place called Hawaii or these islands like the Caribbean, Aruba per se, in the summer when it's in the 90s. And to them, it's luxury. It's a honeymoon. It's a vacation. It's a treat that they wait all year to go and do, to go lay out on the beach in 95-degree weather and go into the ocean and go into a pool. But when there's the climate agenda in play, we don't remember those things. We don't remember telling you how going to Hawaii was a treat when it was 90 degrees. We tell you that, well, if it's 90 degrees in New York, you're dead. You're in danger. Oh my goodness, you better run and hide. Or you may even go to one of our cooling centers, which I'll get into after the fact. Because if you haven't heard the propaganda about the cooling centers, well, it's just laughable. But let's start with this propaganda about pumping fear into the dumbed down sheeple. I'm surprised they're not telling them to wear masks too. They, that would be beneficial. Of course, they would tell them. They would go, yeah, maybe wearing a mask will block me from any heat waves coming from the sun, any of it. Yes, I will wear a mask out there, right? Don't worry about breathing. It's perfectly safe. I mean, just look at this propaganda.
It is. And look, I get it. It's summer. And a lot of people say, okay, but how is this abnormal? The key thing you have to understand is that we don't issue alerts like this when people are just hot, when they're just having their average temperature, say, in the 90s. This comes when those temperatures are 10, 15, even 20 degrees above normal, and people just aren't used to it. Here you can see a wide swath of them existing across the Midwest, the Mid-Atlantic, and even into the Northeast. But that's not it. We also have some out to the west too. Areas of Nevada, Utah, California also looking at some of those heat alerts as well. When we talk about the scope, look at the trend too. Looking at the heat alerts over the last month, notice how many millions more Americans have really been under them in just the last week.
More than 100 million people remain under excessive heat warnings and advisories this weekend. The weather has already led to record-setting and record-tying temperatures from the Midwest to the Mid-Atlantic, and more is on the way. In our nation's capital, it could peak with triple-digit temperatures this weekend. That would be a first for D.C. in nearly 8 years. Natalie Brand is there. Natalie, good morning.
Good morning to you, Jeff. People are up early this morning, exercising, taking in the sights before it gets just too brutally hot to do so. D.C., one of those places facing an excessive heat watch. The humidity here makes everything feel hotter. Forecasters say the heat index could approach 110 today.
Dangerously hot temperatures blanketing the Northeast have put millions at risk and are expected to climb even higher this weekend here in the Mid-Atlantic.
Oh, it's scorching. It's so hot out here.
Moms like Denise Smith seeking refuge at the Splash Park in Washington, D.C., where city leaders have extended the heat emergency through the weekend.
We're asking people to just be mindful of how hot and how dangerous it can be and to avoid overheating.
Thene Freeman, the director of D.C.'s Department of Parks and Recreation, says dozens of rec centers are now doubling as cooling sites.
Heat exhaustion is a real thing, and so we want our residents to be safe from extreme heat. Drink plenty of water, wear loose fit clothing, wear a hat, stay out, avoid the heat and the sun during these peak hours as much as possible.
The nation's capital is facing what could be the hottest summer weekend in years. Elsewhere in the country, record-breaking temperatures on Friday gripped cities from Philly to Louisville. In New York, the heat disrupted train travel at Penn Station. Unprecedented temperatures in Maine caused ER visits to surge, with nearly 80 heat-related illnesses reported. Back in Washington, D.C., Dr. Carrie Lehman is also seeing an increase.
A lot of times when I see someone in the ER, it's because they've passed out.
She urges vulnerable populations to be especially careful.
What are you worried about this weekend?
I always worry about people who are not used to the heat and are not conditioned for it, not just of heat, but also humidity.
Doctors say early signs of heat illness can include headache, nausea, muscle cramps, feeling dizzy, irritable, or confused. All signs, Michelle, to take very seriously on a day like today.
So you can't make it up. They don't even know how to tell you that. Well, it's hot, it's above 90 degrees, but anyone out there that's saying that this is normal, it's not. Then they talk about air quality and things like that, and how we need to fear the air quality. And they're right. But we need to fear the air quality not because the sun is out. We need to fear the air quality because of the chemicals that they're dumping in the air that we're all breathing in, like aluminum and barium. But they don't want to tell you that stuff, folks. So live in fear. And if you can't afford an air conditioner, and I get it, people out there don't have air conditioners. It is, I don't know if it's a luxury this day and age, but there are these things, these cooling centers. And this is kind of new, right? I mean, to me, if you're like, well, it's really hot out, you don't have air, and you're homeless, maybe go to a mall, right? Maybe go to a store and get inside where the air is on. But they're pushing propaganda for these cooling centers. If you haven't heard, trying to tell people to go to cooling centers, to all go inside. No, don't put the air on at your home, of course. If you have a home and you have an air conditioner, don't put it on. Go into these cooling centers, right? Might as well call them FEMA centers. But this is what's even funnier about it. We have the cooling centers open in New York City, right? And they want you to think, well, this is for people out there who are homeless, etc. But you might die from the heat wave, but it's more important that we close the cooling centers during Juneteenth. If you haven't heard this, the cooling centers are pushing the propaganda of the heat and how you might die. You need to go to a cooling center if you're outdoors for too long. But they're going to close the cooling center. That's right. Close the cooling center because of Juneteenth. So you may die from the heat on Juneteenth, but it's all in the name of equality and diversity. I mean, this propaganda, they can't even keep up with themselves. They can't even keep a straight face. This stuff is so ridiculous. But cooling centers being closed during Juneteenth the other day was pretty funny. Look at this.
Not everybody was able to escape the heated cooling centers today. More than 200 of them were closed in the city because it's a federal holiday. CBS 2's John Diaz reports on the controversy it's causing at City Hall.
New Yorkers locked out of libraries Wednesday that ordinarily serve as cooling centers during hot summer days, closed due to the Juneteenth holiday.
The post office and stuff, I understand, but the library?
That's wrong. It should be open. It's hot.
Some, like this Harlem resident, had to change their plans when learning their cooling location was shuttered for the day.
Right now, well, we're going to the beach.
According to city numbers, 41% of its cooling centers are closed Wednesday, 239 of its 555 centers, which includes 179 libraries. New York City Comptroller Brad Lander says the city needs to come up with a better plan.
If it's going to be this hot, are you going to tell people you got to get to a cooling center? Then your cooling centers have to be open.
Lander stressing climate change is making matters worse.
Heat is the deadliest killer of the climate crisis. I'm not saying that the library should normally be open on Juneteenth. I'm saying you need emergency plans in place.
So again, we're going to hear how it's the hottest summer in the history of humanity. We're going to hear about how we need to go to cooling centers. You're going to hear eventually what this cooling center is to set up is that they're going to have cooling centers in place where people are going to go when it's hot out, because you're not going to be allowed to use your air conditioner in your home. If you're wondering what they're getting at with conditioning you with cooling centers, because we know they don't care about anybody out there who is going to die from heat, any homeless people. Obviously, they don't care about anybody. They don't care about any of us. That's for sure. So the cooling center is a nice little setup for them to say in the future when they start shutting off the power grid, saying, hey, we have to, we can't, the grid is overrun. There's too many people trying to get their air on. It can't keep up. That's propaganda we hear every year now, like in Texas and places like that, so they have to shut it off, or they get you to ration your air conditioner. They're going to tell you, hey, on Wednesday, we're shutting off the electricity, so you're going to have to go down to your local cooling center for the day. Might as well be in a prison, right? But people out there don't realize how they're marketing this, prison planet, so to speak, to them. They think that this stuff is just the government going, hey, we're here to help. We got a cooling center. Yeah, turn your air off at home. Help your neighbor out. Help everybody out because the climate's getting affected by you having your air on. The grid can't keep up with it. Now we need to go green, which certainly won't be able to keep up with it. But because of carbon emissions, we need to go green and get rid of oil and gas. I mean, it's all just bullcrap spinning in a circle. And the people out there are too distracted with entertainment, with their phones, with their tech. It goes in one ear, out the other. They can't even process what's going on right now. The carbon footprint is to enslave you. It's not just to tax you, it's to enslave you. You'll hear them saying tax, and people just automatically think money. This is to keep you under guard 24/7. You're only going to be allowed to leave your house for X amount of hours. You're only going to be allowed to buy X amount at the store because every food is going to have a carbon emission on it. You buy meat, guess what? No more. You're going to buy plant-based meat. If you want to get one, you think you're going to get a turkey for Thanksgiving? No, you're not going to get a turkey. You're going to get plant-based turkey. All this stuff is being done by design to limit us like a prisoner. And people out there don't get it. They can't put all of us in a jail cell, okay? So we turned our homes into prisons with the surveillance in our homes, and the carbon footprint is the tracking and monitoring tool. That is why they're pushing the carbon agenda. That is why they're pushing, I should say, the climate agenda. That's what it's about. Okay, using your tech in the name of climate to track and monitor everything you're doing to make sure we can cool the earth, because the earth, we got to cool it down. It's getting too hot. That's the point. So you can't leave for X amount, because remember, carbon emissions come from you. You're the carbon they're trying to limit. Not the big factory towers, not your car, you. So, other time periods, folks, this is just a normal summer. 90 degrees is normal summer. And it's funny because if you actually look up some data that's out there, you can see that they've manipulated, obviously, the data that you would find in a Google search, right? How hot is it in New York City in June? It says 64 to 82 degrees. I would say the average temperature in New York City in the summer is like 85 degrees, probably, right? I love 64. I mean, does anyone know the last time it's 64 in June on the East Coast? I mean, I'm sure it's happened in an abnormal summer. Like last year, I think the East Coast was a little bit cooler in June to start off the summer, even though, what was really funny about the propaganda last year is that there was a cold front on the East Coast last June. It was in the 60s to begin, which was abnormally cold. And they still told you, NASA told you, that it was the hottest summer on record. I mean, it's incredible. There's no backing up any of the data. It's there to condition you. They make it all up. They literally make it up as they go. They know what the end game is, and they make up the data. And every single day, the more they just tell you this, I'm sure you've been around people. You can tell me in the comment section. How many people have you heard regurgitate this who have said it's too hot? It's the hottest summer ever. Now, it's hot, okay? Some people don't like the heat. Some people don't. But to say that it's the hottest summer ever, to act in fear like I can't go outside, I might die all of a sudden. Have you heard anybody say it to you? They're repeating it. That's how propaganda works. They say it over and over and over again. It's like the most simple way I could explain it to anyone who's new to this and how mind control works. You hear a song on the radio, okay? You might not like the song, maybe this song sucks. And then hours later, you might catch yourself humming it, or it might be stuck in your head, right? You hear it again and again and again. Eventually, you actually might like the song and download the song, right? That's how it works. You hear it, you repeat it, it gets stuck in your head. Well, the news just repeats this propaganda day in and day out like a song, just the only difference is they use fear and tell you that you're going to die if you go outside. All of a sudden, the summer is a bad thing. We could tell you for years and years and years, oh, it's going to be a beautiful weekend. It's 90 degrees. Everyone goes, it's a beautiful weekend. I can't wait. I'm going to go to the beach. I'm going to go to the pool. I can't wait. It's going to be 90. Now, of course, while they're pushing forward with Agenda 2030, wow, it's going to be 90 degrees. Oh my gosh. I got to stay inside. I'm even going to wear a mask in my home. They tell me to be extra careful. They say disease could spread really fast, so I'm going to wear a mask too in my house. Oh, okay. But what about 5 years ago when 90 degrees was considered normal? Well, I haven't heard that. All I've heard is that it's very bad. So that's all I remember. I have short-term memory from all the chemicals that I'm eating and getting sprayed on me. So now suddenly it's dangerous and bad. But don't even think for 5 seconds if it's 95 in New York. If you go to Aruba or you go to Maui and it's 95, well, that's perfectly normal. They're not going to tell you at the hotel in Aruba when you get there, hey, heat wave coming through, it's 95. That's just normal weather. And people pay a lot of money to go there for 95 degree weather to go to the beach. I don't think people go to Aruba and Maui to sit inside their hotel rooms. Do they? Do they go to Aruba and they're like, oh man, it's too hot. I'm going to stay inside. It's 95. Or we paid thousands of dollars to come, but we'll stay in the room. I don't think when you check in at the front desk, they go, hey, too hot. We're going to close the beach. We're going to make you all stay in your room. It's too hot. No, but they don't want you to even think just basic thinking, right? That's basic thinking. When you say, you want to show me 120 degrees in New York City. You want to show me like Death Valley temperatures out in like Vermont. Show me Vermont, Maine. Okay, 125 degrees. I'd say, well, that's pretty hot. That's a little frightening. That's Death Valley hot. Maybe I don't go outside. 90 degrees, folks. There's times where it's 100 degrees and they go, oh, it's 100 degrees. It's going to be beautiful out. All right? Now it's 90 degrees. It's sweltering, deadly heat. We're all going to die from the heat. But if you go to Maui or Aruba, it's a luxury for you. It's insane that people can't even think like that. They can't even just have the most basic thought of saying, oh, yeah, right. If you told your neighbor, you're like, and they're hearing all this propaganda and they're going to go outside and you're going to go outside and they're like, don't go outside. It's too hot. But if you were like, hey, I'm going to Aruba next week, they go, you're so lucky. I can't believe it. I want to go. Well, what do you want to go for? Well, because it's 95 degrees and it's beautiful out. I mean, it's really incredible. But people aren't thinking, and they're going to continue to not think as long as they have this technology in their hands at all times. They're just going to get fed propaganda. That's why the world is the way it is right now. Everybody's under mind control. Nobody's thinking at all. They're letting the government think for them. I thank you for being here. Be safe, everybody. Be safe in the heat. I mean, oh my goodness. Head to a cooling zone. Get ready to go there permanently. All right, come on down to the cooling zone. Why is the door locked? Well, you're going to stay in here for 8 hours. Oh, all right, it's cool. Yeah, we're not going to let you out. It's for your benefit. Okay. Bring the kids too. Come on, everybody. Wait a minute, it's past 8 hours. Can I leave? No, you're in the cooling center. It's too hot out there. Stay here with us. Stay with us. We got food, water, and we got these magic potions too that you could take to make sure you don't get a cough from the other people in the room. Okay. I mean, it's incredible. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. Stay safe. Wink, wink. God bless all of you as always and your families.